Okay. Hello, we are back live here on IFNG and welcome everyone. I'm sorry, I think Michelle is on orientation right now. And I would like to say first, congratulations to our very own admin, Gladys, who made it in the US. Gladys, if you're watching us right now, and if you're not watching, please watch us. Um, you're in NYC right now, so congratulations. You made this so far, and ang tagal mo naghintay. And to everyone na nangangarap, especially to our members or students, if you're preparing for IELTS or OET, so just keep on practicing. At the end of the day, mapupunta rin tayo kung saan yung goal natin. But anything else I would like to say to our IFNG members who are watching right now on Facebook Live, please don't forget to tag your friends, and to our participants in Zoom, huwag kayo mahihiya to type in your questions. And without further ado, let's welcome Sir Pheelyp, our very own experts, to answer your questions. Hello, Sir Pheelyp.
Hello there. Hi, Jeff.
How are you, Sir Pheelyp?
I'm good. I just finished a class actually from
Oh
9.
my goodness, you are so dedicated.
Of course. And we're very happy to have to make time for IFNG. You help so many people, and it's nice to work with people like you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sir Philip. So
Thank you
yeah,
so
I will
much
give you
for
the floor, Sir Philip, and I would like to say hi to Marvin. Hi, Marvin. Thanks for coming as well.
Hi.
Yeah.
Good evening, Philippines. I Sir Philip.
And just only, Sir Philip,
Welcome
before
back.
we start, just only to inspire everyone, for all those who are nurses or RMT, medtechs, that who got their interviews or visas going to the US, congratulations. And for those people who are scheduled next week, congrats in advance. Okay. So yes, let's give the floor to our, Mr. Philip. Yes, Sir Philip, floor is
Hi.
yours.
Yes. Thank you very much. Now, am I a co-host now or not yet?
You are now.
I am now. Okay. Thank you very much. No, thank you very much. So, where? Give me a moment. There we go. So, hi. Welcome to the first of a series of lectures regarding the IELTS listening test. For the next few, well, for the following months of February, we're gonna have we from Niner would be helping you guys out. Okay, let me just arrange the entrance so people do not enter. There, give me a moment. There we go. So what was I saying? So one more time. For the for several days now here in February would be we at From Niner would be helping you guys have a better understanding of the IELTS listening tests. The As you probably know, because we suspect that you've already read up even just a little bit regarding the IELTS, that there are 4 subtests in this exam: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Traditionally, for people tend to focus their efforts on the subtests that are the most difficult, which are writing and reading and sometimes speaking. Quite a lot of people they underestimate the listening test because I mean, you listen to English all the time. For example, you're listening to English right now. And I do not think that you're having any significant difficulty in understanding the words that are coming out of my mouth. You grow up with English. It's something that you're very familiar with. The and this is one of our distinct advantages over the other nationalities, at least when it comes to English communication. Sanay tayo na mag-English. And since I'm used to listening to English anyway, why should I prepare so much for that? The fact that you're here, I think, means that you acknowledge and you recognize that although listening indeed tends to be the easiest exam in the IELTS, that doesn't mean it's easy. It's just the least hard. Mahirap pa rin siya. Meron pa rin difficulty involved with the listening test. And for several days this month, we from Niner will be giving some pointers that we hope would be useful for you para sigurado na tayo dyan sa listening na yan, no? So that pasok na siya sa banga, so that you could focus your efforts on the other admittedly more difficult tests out there: reading, writing, and speaking. So yeah. So hi, good evening to everyone. So this one of the benefits, by the way, of one of the benefits of joining live sessions such as this is interaction. The I believe that this video would be posted on IFMG's Facebook page very soon, or at least immediately after, maybe even after this lecture. And that's great. And if you're joining us, if you're watching this video after it's already been posted, then I hope that this would be helpful. However, those who are joining us live right now have a distinct advantage, which is the ability to participate and to ask questions. Your progress is accelerated if you're able to have immediate feedback regarding anything that you're confused about or you're wondering about. Yeah, so feel free na magtanong anytime. If there's anything that you would like to ask, that's what the message thing is for. And I would love to hear questions because that means that you're paying attention and I get to respond to any confusions that you may potentially be having. So tanong-tanong lang pag may time. Okay? Now, give me a moment while I arrange the waiting room. Hold on. There we go. I hope that's okay. All right, so shall we? So as I mentioned, for 4 days this month, we at Niner would be talking about several aspects of the listening test. However, since today is the first day, and maybe there are some of you who are brand new to preparing for the exam, then I suspect it would be a good idea for us to have an overview of what the listening tests in the Ielts is all about. Some of you may already know this. If you do, then good for you. And this would be a good chance for you to reinforce and reaffirm your knowledge, to confirm what you've known for quite a while already. But for those of you who are joining us for the first time, or who are just at the beginning of their exam preparation, hopefully this overview would be helpful for you. So let's keep it simple. Let's talk about listening. So in the IELTS exam, there are 4 tests, as we have mentioned, and one of them is listening. Listening tends to be the easiest test of them all. This is the first thing that happens in the morning of your exam, or if it happens in the afternoon of your exam. The sequence of the written tests are always listening, then reading, then writing. Writing is the hardest subtest for several reasons, but one of them is the fact that it's exhausted. You'd probably be exhausted by the time that you do it. And one of the best things about listening is that it's the first thing that you do, usually. So fresh ka pa sa umaga or sa hapon, whenever you're gonna do this. Now, the listening subtest has 4 parts. There are 4 parts to it. So part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. Give me a moment. Oops, sorry about that. So there are 4 parts: part 1, part 2, part 3, and part 4. These 4 parts are arranged in increasing level of difficulty. In other words, pahirap siya ng pahirap. In case pahirap siya ng pahirap, it gets harder and harder. Each of these parts are 10 points each. So this is 10 points, 10 points, 10 points, and 10 points, for a total, obviously, of 40 points. So listening is out of 40. We begin with the most important question. Sir, how many points do we need in order to pass? Yun yung pinaka-important question, right? So let's answer that. How, what grade do you need in listening in order to uh, get the life that you want? Do you know? Are you aware? Like, because it's always different depending on what you're going to be using the IELTS exam for. Some people use the IELTS exam to migrate, others use it to practice nursing or medicine in another country. Others use the IELTS to study, to get a student visa. Others use it when they marry a foreigner and you are trying to get a fiance visa. So, why are you taking the IELTS? I mean, what do you know? What grade you need in listening at least in order for you um, to get a passing grade? Hi, tanong yun. Do you know what grade you need in order for you to get the life that you want? Because it's always different. It's always different for every person, and it's important for you to ask the organization that you will be submitting your IELTS results to what requirements they have. Does anyone know what grades they need in the IELTS exam? Hmm. Hmm. It seems you don't. No? So since you don't know what grades you need, it's very, as I mentioned, it's very important that you ask. Very, very important that you ask. So uh, just when you do eventually find out, some people need an 8.0 in their listening. Some people need a 7.0 in their listening. Some people need a 7, a 6.5, a 6, a 5.5, a 5. So when you map that according to the 40 points that you have for your raw score in listening, paano yung equivalency nun? Parang ganito. Parang ganito. Um, in order for you to get a oops, in order for you to get an 8.0 in listening, you need a 35 out of 40. To get a 7.0 in listening, you need a 30 out of 40. To get a 6.0 in listening, you need something like a 24. In order for you to get a 5.0, you need to get something like 16. In order for you to get a 4.0, you need something like 12. Mga ganyan. However, this equivalence is not set in stone. It depends. It depends because the level of difficulty of the exam, isa siyang malaking it depends as well. Now, for your information, there are different versions of the listening tests that are present. For example, if in the Philippines, if there's an IELTS exam sa Manila, there is usually also an IELTS exam in Cebu, in Baguio, in Ilo, in Davao, ganyan. And the exam materials for in the different parts of the country are identical. They're exactly the same. However, if you go to another part of the world, maybe having the exam in the same date as well, iba naman yung listening nila. Ibang version yung listening nila. Now, the reason for this obviously is test security. They do not repeat exams. Part of what you're paying for, part of the 11,600 ish pesos that you're going to be paying for in order to take the exam is yung test development. Yung mga tao sa Cambridge, they are all smart people. They regularly develop new materials in order for people to always have fresh materials to use for their exam. Anyway, the point here is that even though they come up with fresh materials all the time, and they spend quite a lot of time developing these materials, did you know they spend an entire calendar year in order to develop yung listening, reading, writing, tsaka speaking? Seryoso, like they invest so much time and effort in order to come up with materials that are valid, that are sensitive, that are fair in the first place, and they ginagastosan talaga nila ng points. However, ngunit subalit what, even despite all of this effort in coming up with these materials, hindi pa rin nila nasa-standardize yung level of difficulty. Sometimes, some versions are easier than usual. Other versions are harder than usual. Some versions are sakto lang. in terms of level of difficulty. Now, this presents a problem if you think about it. Kasi the test you're taking is an English exam, right? So that means that the basis of your the basis of your grade should be your English. So kung magaling ka mag-English, then your grade should be high, di ba? Kung hindi ka masyado magaling mag-English, then maybe your grade should be low. Makes sense. However, if the level of difficulty of the exam varies, it would be possible. Alam mo, yung one person, kaya pala siya bumagsak because nagkataon na tapat siya sa mahirap na test. And another person, the only reason man pala na pumasa siya is because natapat siya sa madaling test. So, what determined whether they passed or failed? Was it their English? Or was it the exam? Diba exam? So, that's not a good thing because we're not trying to determine whether the exam is easy or not. That's not what we're trying to measure. What we're trying to measure is whether magaling ka ba mag-listening or hindi. It's your English that we're trying to determine. So the fact that there are different levels of difficulty, it's what you call a confounding variable, an extraneous variable, a panggulo the variable. So it's something that has to be addressed. It causes variance. It causes confusion. Whether the grade that you get is a reflection, is it a reflection of your English or is it a reflection of how difficult the test is? So what does Ielts do? What Ielts does is that after you take an exam, after you take the test, they perform statistical analysis on the performance of the candidates who took the test. And then they determine, this exam seems to be easier than usual. This exam seems to be harder than usual. This exam seems to be sakto lang. And once they make that determination, they adjust itong band equivalence. So what does that mean? That means normally, in order for you, let's have an example. For example, you need a 7.0 for you in listening. Normally, normal level of difficulty, you need a 30 for that. Pero if it's like harder than usual, baka pwede ng 29 yan. Or baka sige na nga, 28, pwede na yan. Partida. Mahirap eh. So you get that little allowance in order to compensate for the added difficulty, significantly added difficulty of your exam. The reverse is true. If they determine that the version of the listening test that they give you, that you got at least, was easier than usual, excuse me, kailangan mo ng 31 or kailangan mo ng 32 para karapat-dapat ka dyan sa 7. Are you with me? Are you with me? Hi. Yes. Lovely. Cool. So nag-adjust. So sulat natin. So maybe these are the grades. These are the raw scores that you need in order for you to get a 7 kung easy. Ito kung average, 30. Tapos ito naman kung difficult. So ano ngayon? Ano saysay nito sa buhay mo? What's the practical relevance of this? What this means is, ang harsh, charot. What this means is that it's meant to be comforting. Your grade in the Ielts is not dependent on luck or fortune, tsambahan. Ay, sana makachamba ako na madali yung exam ko. Or hala, I will pray para hindi mahirap yung matapat sa akin. So walang ganun, Mars. But rather, it's not going to be dependent on luck, but rather it's going to be dependent on your skill. So whenever you take your test, whether it's January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, whether bilog ang buwan or hindi bilog ang buwan, whether you take it in the States, in Africa, in the Philippines, in Hong Kong, it doesn't matter. Because if it is significantly harder or easier than usual, isa standardized nila yung equivalence para yung magiging basehan lang talaga ng grade would be your English. Reassuring, right? So that you could focus not on praying or offering eggs to Santa Clara or whatever, but rather you can focus on improving your English, which is the way it's supposed to be. So yeah. So let's assume, however, that it's the test that you're going to be taking is of average level of difficulty, and you're going to be needing a 7.0 for that. So that's a 30. That's a 30. Now, what that means is how many points can you afford to lose, therefore, here in our exam? If the exam is out of 40 points, is out of 40, and you need a 30, how many mistakes can you make? I believe in you. 40 minus 30. Kaya mo yan. Grade school graduates. I'm sure you can compute and make simple subtraction. What is 40 minus 30? Congratulations, Jazz. Pinatulong. Yes, 10. Excellent. Wow, marunong mag-subtract. Mabuhay, mabuhay, mabuhay. Charot, joke lang. Yeah, so what does this mean? 10 mistakes is a lot. 10 mistakes is a lot. You don't have to get perfect. You don't have to get everything right. You have allowance for errors. Now, this is something that we'd like to talk about at the start because it's something that people sometimes forget. You don't have to get everything right. And sometimes kasi you get disheartened. Ano yung disheartened? You get discouraged na panghihinaan ng loob if sumisemplang ka during the test. Have you experienced this before? You're in the middle of a high stakes test, or if you're in the middle of a meeting, tapos you make some errors. It feels bad, right? Tama. It's something that gets you down. It makes you anxious. It makes you nervous. And emotion management is definitely an important part of doing well in your test. And we talk about this first because no matter how mentally, intellectually prepared you are for the test, kung pinapangunahan ka ng kaba, all of that goes out the window. You collapse. You get overwhelmed with your nervousness and anxiety. Do you know what I'm talking about? Is this something you've experienced before? Kapag performance time na, bagsak, no? Yeah. This is not alien. This is not something that's foreign to you. So, in the very beginning, the reassurance that is offered is that you have room for error. And that is why galingan mo sa simula. Because the first parts of your listening are easier compared to the latter parts. The first half is relatively straightforward, whereas the latter part is relatively more difficult. So kahit na sumemplang ka dyan sa latter parts 3 and 4, as long as ginalingan mo yung parts 1 and 2, you're good to go. What do I mean by this? Part 1, what happens in part 1? Part 1 is what happens here is you're given what you're going to be listening to is a dialogue, whereas part 2 is a monologue, part 3 is a dialogue, and part 4 is a monologue. What do you think is easier to listen to? A dialogue or a monologue? What you think? Ano sa tingin mong mas madaling pakinggan? Si dialogue or si monologue? What you think? Jazz thinks it's a dialogue that's easier to listen to. Kay also thinks it's a dialogue to listen to. A dialogue is easier to listen to. And so does Mr. M. And I agree with you 100%. A dialogue is much easier to listen to compared to a monologue because in a dialogue, you're going to be hearing how many people? In the dialogue, how many people will you be hearing? Because it's dialogue. 2 people. And ang promise ni Ielts is that whenever there are 2 people talking, which is what happens in part 1 and part 3, one of them is always going to be a boy And another one, the other one, is always going to be a girl. Now, why is that? Because we boys, we tend to have like a lower register, whereas girls, they tend to have a higher register. So it becomes super obvious who is the one who's talking. Like, parang ganun. Diba? So, kasi sa totoong buhay, when you're face to face with people, do you ever get confused who is the one who's doing the talking? Like you're in the same space, you're listening to two people. Do you without do you ever get confused kung sino na yung nagsasalita? Do you ever get confused who is the one who's talking when you're in the same space as two people? Is this something that it has been a problem for you? Is this something that has been a problem for you? I don't think so. I don't think so. Because how can you tell when someone is the one who's talking? How can you tell? They are the one whose mouth is moving, like the sound is coming from that part, for example, or people, or that's where people are looking. Anyway, the point here is that because in the real world, the Ielts, because in the real world, this is not a problem that you encounter. The dapat sa Ielts, not a problem din siya, because the Ielts wishes to assess your real life skills. Parang ganun. Parang ganun. Now, I'd like to take this opportunity to point out that there are a lot of IELTS materials out there. Not all of them are very close to what you would actually encounter in your exam. And one of the telltale signs, one of the parang red flags that maybe the material you're using isn't so good is when in a dialogue, it's a boy and a boy. Or maybe it's a girl and a girl. This never happens in your tests. So something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind. Anyway, going back. So let's draw this. So let's draw here. So it's a boy, and it's always going to be a girl. And I agree with you completely that it is a dialogue that is easier to listen to because you're digesting the language in bite-sized pieces. Stop. 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 It's hindi ka masyadong mabibilaupan. It's one at a time. Unlike in a monologue, it's like like, where are we now? You're only hearing one voice, and you really need to focus on the keywords of the question so that you know where you are. Sometimes you get lost. You can also sometimes get lost in dialogues, but at least in monologues, there are breaks in the English. In monologues, there's only one voice that you're listening to, something like that. So dialogue monologue is what happens. Another aspect of these four tests is the context of these audio materials that you're going to be listening to. The first two parts are social in nature. So part one is social, part two is social. On the other hand, what does social mean? Social means the context are everyday ones. You're hanging out with a friend in a cafe as you're chatting, or you are ringing a hotel to make a reservation, or nawawala yung luggage mo sa airport at tinatawagan mo si kuya to describe your luggage, or you are visiting a museum and you're listening to a tour guide. Mga ganyan. So everyday relatable scenarios. The vocabulary is relatively familiar and they speak a little slower. On the other hand, parts 3 and 4 are harder because they are academic in nature. Academic, like you're reserving a room in a library. You're organizing a study session with your classmates. You are discussing various theses with your classmates. You're listening to a lecture on veganism. You're listening to a lecture on grasshoppers or Jupiter. or the ocean, ganyan, or climate change. So hopefully you recognize that there's going to be a huge shift in terms of difficulty as you go along. That's true, but particularly, and pay attention to this, particularly dito, back sa transition between part 2 to part 3. Drawing tayo ng arrow. So, back. Oops, sorry. Lakayan natin para intense. Back. There is a huge transition in term as a huge increase in the level of difficulty. Nakakagulat na increase in the level of difficulty. First in terms of speed, biglang bibilis yung yung audio. Also in terms of vocabulary, the words suddenly become less common or they become more technical. Surprise, surprise. And finally, in terms of content, the ideas themselves are more complex and more abstract. So biglang hirap yan. And I'd like to take this time to point out that sometimes people are caught off guard with this. Kasi part 1, dialogue and social, petics. Part 2, social, monologue, petics pa rin. Wow, ang dali naman ng listening. Pagpatak ng part 3, academic dialogue, hala, what happened? Oh gosh. And then they lose a few points as they try to come to terms and they try to accommodate the sudden increase in difficulty. We have seen this happen too many times in the past. So it's a very common mistake. And if you're listening to us for the first time, please take note of it. The transition from parts 2 to 3, from part 2 to part 3 is quite huge in terms of speed, vocabulary, and content. So something to keep in mind. What part here is the most difficult? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Which part here is the most difficult? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Part 4. Which part is the most important? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Which part here is the most important? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Which part here is the most important? 1, 2, 3, or 4? Jess says 3. Miles says all parts, and I agree with Miles. All parts are equally important because all of them are 10 points each. So hindi porket part 4 is the most difficult, but it's the most critical. Kasi kahit nasa memplang ka, one difficult question is 1 point. One easy question, it's 1 point as well. So ibang usapan, of course, if one difficult question is worth 5 points and one easy question is worth 1 point, edi ayusin mo talagang buhay mo para you can answer the difficult questions more. However, they're of equal weight. So what this means strategically is that siguraduhin mong ayusin mo yung earlier parts. Part 1, part 2, galingan mo yan. And kayang-kaya mong galingan dyan because it's relatively easy. So that you create allowance for your parts 3 and 4. So that even if you make mistakes, even if you get 10, 9, 8 mistakes in parts 3 and 4, kung ganalingan mo sa 1 and 2, that's perfectly fine. This is what we were talking about earlier regarding anxiety. After the listening test is the reading test. Dire-diretso kasi yung Ielts. It's a marathon. Listening, then reading, then writing. No breaks in between, nothing. Dire-diretso lang siya. And we've found that because parts 3 and 4 are the last things that happen in the test, and that's where people tend to make the most mistakes, they feel, ala, nawala ako dun. Oh no, what should I do? Oh gosh, parang mali yung sagot ko dun. They second guess themselves, they feel bad, And if they feel bad after listening, they tend to feel bad in reading. So they enter the reading tests not at their best, psychologically, mentally. And this is a recipe for disaster. So we'd like to really take this time to emphasize that even if you don't get those most difficult parts in listening right, as long as you don't make too many mistakes, as long as ganun mo sa parts 1 and 2, carry bells, it's perfectly fine. Okay? Hopefully you remember this. So at this point, do you have any questions for me? At this point, do you have any questions for me? About the overall listening, subtest, anything that you're curious about? I'm sure that for some of you, quite a handful of you, you've heard all of this before because you've read up ahead of time. But for those of you who are joining us for the first time and maybe just starting their preparation for the exam, is there anything you'd like me to clarify here? Anything? Going, gone. All right, sure. I'm glad it was straightforward and very clear for you. What may not be so clear is that uh, it looks easy, right? It looks easy. But what are the things that make it hard? Bakit may bumabagsak pa rin sa listening? What are the difficulties that people tend to encounter? Tonight, we're going to be focusing on multiple choice. But in addition, it's nice to have an introduction to the other difficulties that you might encounter as well. One common difficulty that people consider, or at least report, is accents. Right now, I've been speaking to you in English for a while. What accent am I using? This one. Am I speaking in an American accent? Am I speaking in an American accent right now? This melody that you're hearing at this moment, would you say that this is an American accent? Guys, itong ginagawa natin. Would you say, I mean, I'm sure that you've watched lots of American shows, lots of American whatever. Is this an American accent? Yes or no? I'm interested to see what you guys actually think. Uh, apparently, no one wants to do this. That's funny. That's okay. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Biglang nabuhay ang patay. Well done. Yeah, this is definitely not an American accent. It's very far. No one is gonna mistake me to be an American just by listening to me. But it's kind of like what Ninzi Nobleza is saying. It's a neutral accent, right? It does not sound Filipino. Like if I talk like this, for example, in the Philippines, I am sure that all of you can understand me, even if this is what sounds coming out of my mouth, because this kind of accent is very familiar to the Filipino people because it is very near our native tongue, the vernacular. Um, However, it does. You are not going to be hearing any Filipino accents, but rather you're going to be hearing a variety of native English accents in the test. And what accents are these? That would be interesting to know. There would be a variety of accents, but the most common accents would be British, American, Australian, sometimes Kiwi, sometimes Canadian. Correct. I'm corrected by. Ang pinaka-common dyan, of course, would be the British accents and the American accent. And yes, sometimes I guess the Australian accents. The other siguro isang piraso, dalawang piraso, one number, two numbers, things like that. Now, how do you get used to accents? How do you get used to accents? Like right now, again, I think none of you are having any difficulty understanding this accent because it's a neutral accent, right? This is the accent of the movies, maybe that we listen to, that we watch. I'm sorry, very British accent. If I talk like this, for example, this is like a very rough and very shameful approximation of British accent. If I speak like this, does it take a little bit more effort for you to understand what I'm trying to say? Kunyata ano daw? Hello? parang mas effortful siya. Kasi if I talk like this, it's not something that you encounter all the time. This is not the sound of voices that you listen to often, I think. But rather, it's something that you encounter very infrequently. Can you give me some examples of British shows that you have watched? Several come to my mind, but what comes to your mind? I'm sure you've encountered the British accent before. Bridgerton, yes, which thankfully has a season two. Bridgerton, the first season, ang daming kalalakihan. Let's see, what's her name? Lady Thistledown, whatever. Besides Bridgerton, which is a great series on Netflix, what else? Oh, come on. What's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of the British accent? Something that's very popular, something that we're all familiar with, I think. Harry Potter. Yeah, indeed, Nancy Nobleza. Harry Potter. Hermione, get me my wand flies, mga ganun, mga Voldemort, Mr. Potter. Charot. Anything else? Have you heard of ano? Have you heard of Downton Abbey? Downton Abbey? Is this some yung period drama? Um, basta. So it's something that you've encountered sometimes, but not all the time. The American accent you hear all the time, right? If someone talks to you in American accent, it's usually very recognizable, not only as a former American colony, but also because for the past century, America has been spreading its culture through movies and Hollywood. So for a lot of people, their idea of standard English is American English, is the neutral accent. Australian though, may napapanood ka na bang Australian shows? As in Australian. Have you like heard? Have you watched ever an Australian show? Are you familiar with Bogart the Explorer? Let's check who watches. Have you heard of Bogart the Explorer? Have you? It seems not. Unfortunate. Bogart the Explorer, if you're curious. Ninzi. Nobleza is familiar. Oh, Ninzi, diba? Bogart, Judy, yes, the Pinoy who lives in Australia. Yeah. Does he live in Australia though? Does he? I think he lived in Australia, although I'm not so sure. Hindi kami close. Hindi kami magka-text. Pero what I know is that he used to live in Australia. Maybe he went back. Maybe he's staying here in the Philippines, or maybe he's somewhere else. He used to live in Australia, and he got this like great Australian accent, and he looks very Filipino, and that's great. That's great because Filipinos look great, but it people aren't really used to hearing an Australian accent in the through from Filipino mouths because it's not an accent that is common in the country. So nakakaaliw siyang panoorin. Anyway, what I'm trying to say, it's all a matter of exposure, getting used to these accents. Sulat natin. Exposure. It's literally a matter of just like listening to these accents again and again and again and again and again until you get used to it. As evidenced by this accent that you're listening to right now, that you have no problem listening to or understanding because you've been hearing something like this all the time. News, for example. So if you recognize that after doing a practice test, and it is important for you to do a practice test, afterwards, when you reflect on your performance, hala, one of the reasons pala why I didn't score as high as I could was because naguguluhan ako sa accent. Instead of vase, I hear vase. Instead of like tomato, I heard tomato. Parang it's still English, but the sounds are different. And if you feel that this is one of your weaknesses, then I strongly suggest that you watch more shows. Watch more shows. You don't have to go to Netflix, although I do recommend Netflix Netflix. I do recommend that you go to Netflix because there are lots of good shows there. But there are free materials on YouTube too. In fact, the British Council website, the IDP website, there are resources there that you could use in order to familiarize yourselves with these things. When you enroll at Niner, if you choose to do so, we have materials as well. And one of the lecturers this month from Niner will be speaking with you in greater depth about these accents. So, but for now, as an introduction, keep in mind na sanayan lang yan. You will eventually get used to it. Now, that's pretty straightforward, I hope. If you have any questions about accent, let me know. Pero yung, to be honest, yung greater problem that a lot of people encounter, it's not just the accent, maybe, or it's not the accent, or not just the accent. The problem that they have is speed. Mabilis yung test. Later, we're going to be having a sample test. We'll discuss question and answer. We'll discuss multiple choice for a while, and then because you learn by doing, and because the IELTS exam is not really a knowledge exam but more of a skills exam, we're going to be having a practice test so that you have first-hand experience of what the IELTS speaking test is like, so that mas madali ka makaka-relate dun sa mga pinag-usapan natin today, and yung mga pag-uusapan natin from Niner in days to come. Something to try. Because again, you learn by doing. The IELTS exam is all about skills. How do you learn to insert an IV line? By reading a book, by watching a video. Maybe that's part of it. But you don't actually learn how to insert an IV line until you insert an IV line, right? You got to do it. How do you learn how to swim? By reading a book. Maybe that's part of it, but you don't really learn how to swim until you get yourself in water. You know what I mean? It's really practice. It's not theoretical. The IELTS is not a quiz, but rather it's more of return demo. I don't care what you know. I care about what you can do. Aksyonan. So yeah, but of course, before you practice, you need to know what to practice, right? You need to contextualize. You need to have strategies. You need to have something to work on. You need to have an idea of how to go about doing it. Para hindi ka tira ng tira. And that is what our time together here tonight is for. So going back, so one of the main problems is accent, and another main problem, based on testimonies from generations and generations of our students, is speed. Mabilis kasi yung audio. Some people find it just fine, but others find it really fast. And later you'll find out exactly how fast it is. Can you adjust the speed in the actual test? What do you think? Pwede ba yun? Ma'am, bagalan naman natin. Mga ganun. Ma'am, times 0.5 natin. Diba? Hindi naman pwede yun. Right? Yeah, big no. Diba? K and just. So, that's a big no. So, sino mag-adjust? Exam or tayo? Who's gonna adjust, guys? Exam o tayo? Syempre tayo. We're the one who has to adjust. We're the one who has to listen better. And how do we do this? This is the answer is simple, not easy. But the answer is you have to pay attention to your keywords. Everyone who's listening, could you type the keywords for me, please? Keywords, type it. Typing it helps you to remember it. More stimuli, more retention after all. Galaw. Type keywords. It's 8 letters. Keywords. Come on. Judy, Jazz, K, Mr. M. Yeah. Move. Yeah. Keywords. Keywords ang labanan sa IELTS, whether listening, reading, writing, or speaking. Literally, it's about the keywords. Very good, Jel. No? Keywords ka papasa, keywords ka rin babagsak. promise. You're gonna hear the other lectures repeat this again and again and again because it's very, very, very important as well. So keywords ang labanan. So what do I mean by this? So let's get rid of this. Let me give you an example of question. What did Philip eat for breakfast yesterday? Let's have this very simple, very straightforward question. And then maybe you have some examples, and maybe you have some choices underneath it. A, overnight oats. B, bacon and eggs. C, what else do you eat for breakfast? Help me out. What else do you eat for breakfast? What do you eat for breakfast? Sige nga, breakfast reveal. What do you eat for breakfast? No judgment if your breakfast is not that healthy. Wow, si Judy, pancakes. Shala. Shana ang may pancakes. Jazz eats hot dog and eggs. Go hot dogs. Hot dog and eggs. Let's make this bacon and bread, I guess. Judy, do you eat your pancakes with maple syrup? Judy, do you eat your pancakes with maple syrup? Yes. Okay. Thanks. Jeff eats sinangag and danggit. What's sinangag? Sinangag is fried rice, right? I think so. What is is danggit like a kind of fish? Did I get that right? Or is it like a kind of sausage? Yeah, sure. Dried fish. Okay, sorry. Now I know. So let's put that in the option. E. Fried rice and dried fish. Danggit from Cebu. Talaga? From Cebu. Ay, shala. From Cebu dapat ang danggit ni Mr. M or ni Jeff. Shana. Meron pa bang gusto mag-contribute ng breakfast? Yummy Filipino breakfast. It's dried fish. All right. Cool. And ikaw, what's your yummy Filipino breakfast? Hala, nagugutom ako, sir. Okay lang yan. Kumain ka mamaya. Okay. And na lang, one last. What's your yummy Filipino breakfast? What's your yummy? Tosilog? Tosilog. Tosino. Oh my God. I know that. One is itlog, right? Tosino sangag. Oh my God. Tapsilog is tapa, sinangag, and itlog. So tosilog is tosino sinangag. Lapu-lapu, dried fish and eggs. So let's put that in there. What's tocino in English? Oh my God. What's tocino in English? I don't know. What's that? Meron bang English? Parang wala. So let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. So what did Philip eat for breakfast yesterday? Overnight oats, bacon and eggs, pancake with maple syrup. Maple syrup, hot dogs and eggs, fried rice, and dried fish. In the actual exam, you will not have this many choices. Usually you'll have three. Sometimes you'll have three choices. But for now, assuming we have like 5. So The problem that we're working on, is speed. Now, how do you address speed? By paying attention to the keywords. You will always be given time before the audio begins to read the questions. One more time. You will always be given time bago magsimula yung audio na basahin yung mga questions. Never kang bibiglain. Bawal kang i-surprise with these questions. You'll always have time. And what do you do with this time? You look at it and you try to remember these keywords. However, you're going to notice na ang daming keywords. There's so many. It's not just one question anyways that you're going to be paying attention to, but several. And fellow nurses, more stimuli, more retention, right? So the more ways that you try to remember something, the more you actually remember it. So the advice here is don't just look at it, visual, but also encircle it. Kasi pwede mo namang sulatan yung questionnaire. And if you're taking the computer-based test, pwede mong i-highlight yung mga bagay-bagay. So let's do that now. What is the first keyword that you see here in the question? Guys, sa question, hihimay-himayin natin yan. Diba? Ano yung first keyword? Breakfast? Breakfast is a keyword. That's correct. But when we look at it left to right, kasi diba we read left to right, what's the first keyword that you encounter here? The question is, what did Pheelyp eat for breakfast yesterday? I agree with you, Ninzi Nobleza. I agree with you. Pheelyp. Pheelyp. Pagkatapos ng Pheelyp, wait lang. Eat. Correct, Judy. One at a time. Himay-himay. What's the next keyword after eat? Correct, Jess. What's the next keyword after eat? Breakfast. Not Jess. What's the last keyword? Yesterday. So, correct, Irene. So, what do? You look at it, you encircle it for kinesthetic visual, and lastly, you say it softly to yourself. Auditory. Put the finger in your ear, tapos, so that you don't have to project a lot. And take note that you're going to be wearing a mask anyway when you are going to be taking your test, because we're still in the middle of the pandemic, and it makes good sense for you to wear a mask because you never know who could infect you or who you could infect if you're asymptomatic, or infected. So yeah, so you look at it, these keywords, you encircle it while saying it softly to yourself. Parang tanga, but it works. So what do? Eat breakfast yesterday. Try it out. So this would help you to remember these keywords. Believe me, it's true. Now, itong mga choices na to, you do the same thing. Oats. Overnight oats, bacon and bread, pancakes, maple syrup, hot dogs, eggs, fried rice, dried fish. Sir, lahat na yun ah. Oo. At least napagdaanan mo lahat. And again, in the actual exam, you only have 3 choices. But some of these choices are sometimes long. Sometimes they are extended. But at least napagdaanan mo siya. Because there is a certain magic that occurs when you focus on the word. And this is what you call, and I would like to share with you. This is something from neurolinguistics that you call activating schema. Everyone, type activating schema. So you remember these things. Galaw-galaw. Activating schema, 2 words. Activating schema, 2 words. Type it. Para matandaan mo siya. Sayang naman. Activating schema. Type it. Activating schema. Type it. Activating schema. Activating schema. Activating schema. Activating schema. Okay, good. So what the hell is this? So schema is, I think it's jargon. My understanding of schema is a schema is a thought and all the other thoughts and words that you associate with it. So it's word association. Let's have an example. Who here are nurses? I'm a nurse. Who here are nurses again? Nurses. Nursing, nurses, nurse reveal, profession reveal. Are there any nurses in the room? Anyone? Jel raised her hand. Paramdam sa chat. Paramdam sa chat. Miles is a nurse. Anyone else? Kaming dalawa lang ni Miles? Oh my God. Talaga. Paramdam sa chat, please. Si Jel. So, tatlo na kaming nurses. Hala, ano yung iba? Ano yung iba? Carpenter. Ganun. Gardener. Ganyan. Herbalist. Si Kay, si Jazz are nurses as well. So, ilan na kami? Si Anne. Ilan na kami? So, there's Philip, Miles, Jel, Kay, Jazz, Judy. 6 nurses in the room. Okay, dumadami na. Good enough. Mr. M is a nurse. Jinky is a nurse. So, we're now 8. Hallelujah. If I give you a word, I'll give you a word. I'll give you a word. Let me know what words, let me know what words come out of your brain. If I give you the word diabetes, what words come out in your brain? Because words do come out of your brain, right? What words come out? Polyuria, insulin, walang kamatayang metformin, CBG. What else? Hello, fellow nurses. Diabetes. What words come to mind? Sugar, glucose. Come on, until the end of the screen. Pancreas. Oops, sorry. Yeah. Come on, diabetes. What comes to mind? Diabetes. What comes to mind? Type 1 and 2. Okay, good. Amputates. Correct. Potassium chloride drip. Hypoglycemia. Hyperglycemia. HbA1c. Correct. Blindness. Fasting blood sugar. Diabetic ketoacidosis. What else? Diabetes. What else comes to mind? I'm sure many things come to mind. Diabetes. What else comes to mind? Classmates. I'm sure marami pa yan. High blood. Okay. There's usually a strong correlation between heart disease and diabetes. Skin discoloration. Sure. One last. Obesity. Great. Thank you. Now, retinopathy, yeah, all of these things. Polyuria, polydipsia, polyphagia, poor wound healing, all of these other things. Now, why are these the words that came out in your brain? Because these are the words that you encountered together with diabetes in your life, right? It's something that, like diet, lifestyle, hereditary, gestational, what else? Chronic, all of these other words. Let's try one more time, just to drive home the point. One more time. Pneumonia. What words come to mind if I give you pneumonia? Pneumonia. Antibiotics. Cough. Hello. Pneumonia. What words come to mind? Chest X-ray. fever. What else? Viruses. Okay, that works. CT scan. Bacteria. Okay. Fungi. Difficulty of breathing. Back pain. Pneumonia. Pneumonia. What else comes to mind? Salbutamol. Walang kamatayang salbutamol. Blood culture and sensitivity. Droplets. Okay. Oxygen. Pneumonia. Pneumonia. O2 O2 saturation. ETA, GS, CS. Sorry, what's ETA? Wait lang. I'm not familiar with that. What's ETA? Sorry, I'm not familiar. Ano yung ETA? Gel. Or anyone. Ano yun? Endotracheal tube aspiration. I didn't know. Thank you for that. Mucolytic. Flumicid. Nebulization. I was waiting for that. Wala man naman nag-lungs, no? Okay. Cap and hap. What's cap and hap? I'm unfamiliar with that as well. Ano yun? Ano yung cap and hap? Anne or anyone? Community-acquired pneumonia and hospital-acquired pneumonia. Thanks. Got it. Thank you. And again, why are these the words that came to mind? Because you encountered pneumonia in the context of these other words. You study them together. No? It's a very disease-focused, health-focused, medicine-focused, healthcare-focused understanding. However, if I give you this word, I give you this word, do not Google. Arboreal. What words come to mind? Arboreal. What words come to mind? Don't Google. Arboreal. What words come to mind? I don't know. Sir, nothing comes to mind because I don't know what it means. Diba? You need a dictionary. Diba? That is the huge difference. Nosebleed, lol. That is the huge difference of NA, not given, ole, blanco, monkeys. Okay, monkeys. All right, pwede. Monkeys. I thought it's tama, plants, Miles. Correct, that's correct. Plants. Tama. Anything else? Wala, di ba? Wala na. Piga na, sir. Kasi no association with it. Because I don't think about it. I don't think about it at all. Let's try another word. An easier word. Arboreal, find out later what it means. Birds, pwede siguro. Aqueducts. This is easier. Aqueducts. Meron yan. What words come to mind now? Water. Yan. Ano pa? Eye. Okay. Anything else? Aqueduct. What words? Tube. Kasi duct. Okay. Pwede. Connections. Sana all connected. Opening. Okay. Sige. Anything else? Aqueducts. Don't Google, syempre. But what words come to mind? Drainage. All right. Anything else? One last. Aqueduct. You've heard this before. Portal. LOL. Portal hypertension. Haha. Drops. Sige. Pwede. Puro mata, no? Puro opta. Very, very, very healthcare na paghahalata, no? Yung mga lacrimal ducts, yung mga tumutulong luha, etchos. Now, Aqueducts, these are channels for water. Duct means daluyan. Aqua means water. An aqueduct is something that the Romans were quite famous for. The water for Rome or for other Roman cities was actually quite far away. But the city is here, the tubig is over there. So para yung tubig na nandun, makarating dito, they use aqueducts. Let me give an example. In Metro Manila, I'm not sure if you're familiar. In Metro Manila, do you know where majority of our water comes from? Not from heaven, of course. Do you have an idea? Yung pang-inom, yung pang-ligo, yung pang-flush ng toilet, yung pang-linis ng kotse. Do you know where it comes from? Maynilad! Wow! Okay. Maynilad is the one that distributes it when it gets here. Dam, correct. Correct. Do you know the name of the dam? Does anyone know the name of the dam? Where majority of the water from Manila comes from? Anyone? Anyone? Wawa Dam? No? La Mesa Dam? La Mesa Dam provides like 3% of the water in Metro Manila. Angat Dam. Very good, Miles. Angat Dam. Not Angkat Dam, but Angat Dam supplies 97% of the water in Metro Manila. So where is Angat Dam? Do you know? Does anyone know in which province Angat Dam is? Uy, hala sir, saan yan? Bulacan. Very good. Yeah, it's the tip of your tongue. Diba? Bulacan. Is Bulacan near Manila? It depends what you mean. Bulacan is much nearer to Manila compared to Ilocos. But it's not actually walking distance. Bulacan is not walking distance to Manila. So it has to travel a certain distance. So the dam is here. Metro Manila is here. How do you bridge the gap? What brings the water from Bulacan to Manila? What's the word? Type it. What's the word? Daluyan ng tubig. What's the word? Come on, you can do it. We just discussed it. Aqueducts. Aqueducts. Very good, Kay. Aqueducts connect these things. So if I was a terrorist, gusto kong pabagsakin ang Republika ng Pilipinas, ang papasabugin ko lang is not Malacanang, but rather in aqueducts. Because if you deprive the capital of the country with water, of 97% of its water, do you think that it would result in chaos? Pandemonium, disorder, breakdown. If people no longer have water to drink, no water to like take a bath, no water for so many other things, that would create chaos. Thank God I'm not a terrorist, right? Buti na lang, buti na lang. So there, and this is an aqueduct. This is what an aqueduct is. Now, why did we talk about this? Sir, akala ko ba Ielts listening? Oo nga. Pero, what did we just do? Now that we have discussed in greater detail what aqueducts are, if I give you the word aqueduct now, what words come to mind now? Guys, aqueduct. What words come to mind now that we've had our little discussion on it? What additional words come to mind now? Classmates. Dam. Terrorism. Lol. Water supply. Diba? Ano pa? Ano pa? Aqueduct. Aqueduct. Now, what other words come to mind? Aqueduct. Passage. Sure. What else? Now that you've thought of this word in a different context, na hindi lang otta, hindi lang puro mata-mata, but gosh, it's part of city. It's part of infrastructure. It's something that the Romans were famous for. Bomb, uh, drinking water, may Milan, Manila water, things like this. So what did we do? We expanded. Where's this? Bridges. Okay, all right. Where's this? Back. We expanded our schema. No? We enriched our schema. Mas marami na tayo na-associate sa salitang aqueduct. And I would like to point out canals, tunnels, bridges, yes, just. So I would like to point out that this is an important part of how you prepare for your exam, not just for listening, but also for reading, for writing, and for speaking. You need to read. Basa-basa. Because when you read, when you read, you encounter words in contexts that maybe you're not so familiar with. Yan pa naman yung one of the challenging things regarding the Ielts exam. You don't know what it is that you are going to encounter in reading or in listening. What are we going to listen or read about? The life cycle of frogs, the different mineral compositions of volcanic rocks, the various levels of the atmosphere, like you know what I mean. So of course, the topics that come out of the IELTS do not require expert knowledge. You don't need to be a scientist to be able to understand these things, but you will be required to be able to paraphrase. Everyone, I paraphrase. Paraphrase. Below. Paraphrase. 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 What is paraphrase? Different words, but same meaning. Different words, but same meaning. So, you will always, let's go back. You will always be given time before the audio begins to read the questions and to read the choices. Right? Multiple choice, right? And in other kinds of questions. However, these words that you hear, these words that you read, Pheelyp, eat, breakfast, yesterday, this is probably not going to be the words that you will actually hear from the audio, but rather what you will hear is something related to it. What do I mean by this? So let's have an example. I give you the word, where's this? I give you the word breakfast. I give you the word breakfast. What words come to mind? I give you the word breakfast. What words come to mind? Part of your schema. Food. Ano pa? Important meal of the day. Sure. What else? Breakfast. Breakfast. What else comes to mind? Breakfast. What else comes to mind? Breakfast. Yeah, meal. Okay. Morning. There we go. Heavy. Sure. Two more. First meal of the day. Thank you. One last. Breakfast. What else comes to mind? Breakfast. What else comes to mind? Breakfast. What else comes to mind? Hungry. Thank you. All right, thanks. How about How about what are other words? Say yesterday. I give you the word yesterday. What other words come to mind? Yesterday. What other words come to mind? Kahapon. What words come to mind? The day before today. Okay. Not bad. Yesterday. The past. Very good. You're getting the hang of it. What else? Previously. Diba? Oo nga, no. Ano pa? Yesterday. What else? What else? Earlier. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad at all. Tonight. 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 Not sure about that. The other day. The other day. Last time. There you go. Done. The day before. Yeah, the day before. That's already been written down. You're doing well. You're doing well. Let's get rid of this. One last, guys. Eats. If I give you the word eats, what words come to mind? Eat. I'm sure many words come to mind. Eat. What words come to mind? Eat. Sir, ba't ka ganyan? Nagugutom ako. Eat. What words come to mind? Chew. Food. Snack. Yes, snack talaga. Consume. All right. Take. I agree. Take. What else? Buy it. Okay, not bad. Eat. Eat. What else comes to mind? Eat. What comes to my mind is like diet, maybe. Um, uh, Breakfast. Yes. Intermittent fasting. Viand. Social viand. Okay. Lunch. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, merienda, second breakfast, midnight snack. Lahat ng beses na kumakain ka. Yeah, great. So ang activating schema, what that means is, again, sabi ng siyensya, if you pay attention to a word, the words that you associate with those words, with that word, like ito, if you pay attention to a word like pneumonia, pak, all of these other words that you associate with pneumonia, instead na nasa ilalim siya ng baul ng brain mo, lumulutang siya pataas. It becomes top of mind. It's like giving your brain heads up. Uy, brain, pneumonia pag-usapan natin. So yung brain mo, aabangan. Okay, pneumonia pala. So I would expect to hear chest x-ray. I would expect to hear cough, difficulty of breathing, CT scan, salbutamol. It gets your brain ready. It allows you to anticipate what is going to happen next. You cannot adjust the time. You cannot adjust the speed that the audio plays at. Pero what you can adjust is how well you're able to receive the audio, the answer. Ikaw ang mag-adjust. And how do you do that? By preparing your brain ahead of time, by letting it know what it is going to hear. Nakasulat yung mga sagot, ay nakasulat yung mga tanong. And it allows you to see into the future. It allows you to know ahead of time what it is that you're going to be hearing. It's the words written down in your questionnaire would not be the same words, of course, but it's going to be related. So ito na yung punchline. So for example, oops, sorry, mistake. Punchline. Oh, I deleted it. Sorry. Let me just do this again. Oh, sorry. Baka yung sabihin sa recording is something like this. Okay, let's keep it simple pala. You hear this? Our lecturer finally started eating again this morning after spending almost the entire day asleep. Though he wanted to have oats again like his last meal, all that was left was some strips of bacon and a hamburger bun that my friend brought today. How many times did Philip eat here? Our lecturer finally started eating again this morning after spending almost the entire day asleep. Though he wanted to have oats again like his last meal, all that was left was some strips of bacon and a hamburger bun that my friend brought today. How many times did Philip eat here in the audio that you heard? Twice, correct. What did Philip eat today? What did Philip eat today? Today, what did Philip eat? Today, what did Philip eat? This morning, what did Philip eat? This morning, what did Philip eat? Bread and bacon. Bacon and bread, correct. Oops, sorry. Bacon, strips of bacon, and a hamburger bun, which is bun is the same as bread. Correct. Hamburger bun specifically. So therefore, what's the answer? What's the answer? The answer is A. The answer is A, because the question was not asking for what I ate today, but rather what I ate yesterday. And yesterday, what did I eat? Oats. How do I know that it was what I ate yesterday for breakfast? Nasaan dito yung yesterday? Yesterday. Yesterday. Last meal. Okay. And how do you know that last meal corresponds to yesterday? How do you know that last meal corresponds to yesterday? Because I was asleep the entire morning. I was asleep the entire day. Yeah, I was asleep the entire day. So my last meal was like maybe breakfast, something like that. So you see, you didn't hear the word yesterday. You heard the word oats, but you also heard strips of bacon in the hamburger. So what's the point? The point is that when you are given multiple choices, frequently you are going to hear yung mga keywords na mga wrong choices. Let me say that again. Here we have a lot of choices. Pero yung tamang sagot ay A. Pero gosh, narinig mo rin yung B. Lilituhin ka ni Ielts. That's one of the things that make it quite challenging. Is that you heard it, you know you heard it, you're sure that the keyword of B was mentioned. But when you understand the situation, that's not what we were looking for. So how do you resolve that? How do you get over that? Pay attention to the keywords. So sino yung ka-partner ni Pheelyp, our lecturer? Sino yung ka-partner ni Eats? Eating. Sino yung ka-partner ni breakfast yesterday? Si last meal. So when you were hearing these words, ito yung inaabangan mo. Hold on. Pheelyp, did he talk about Pheelyp? Yes, he talked about Pheelyp. Did he talk about what he ate yesterday? Yes, last meal yesterday. So these are parang alerts. These are reminders that let you know na parating na yung sagot. Think of your keywords as anchors that inform you when proximate na yung sagot, when malapit na yung sagot. This would help you to focus on the answers. Guaranteed 100%. Always be 100% of the time. 40 out of 40 items, there will always be a connection between the keywords in your question and the keywords in your audio. 100% of the time. That's how the exam is designed, and that is what makes the exam objective as well. Hindi siya subjective, parang ganito, at parating may connect yan ng mga keyword. The keywords are always connected to each other. This is very reassuring because this means that if you just pay enough attention, makukuha at makukuha mo yung sagot. So, how do you handle multiple choice? Pay attention to the keywords. Make sure that you look at it, encircle it, say it softly to yourself, activate your schema. Kapag eat, okay, kapag breakfast, pagkain, okay, yesterday, yung tapos na, hindi yung ngayon. If you put that in mind, it is easier for you to paraphrase and you have higher chances of success. Sounds simple, right? Pero, kaya ba? Let's find out. Do you want to try it? I believe we have some time. You want to try? Parang madali naman mag-gets, di ba? Pero kapag aksyonan na, let's see how well we do. Shall we? Tignan natin. Let's see how well you do. Give me a moment, please. Let's just use 4 questions. 4 questions. Can you see the questions? Can you see the questions? Can you see the questions? Good. Matthew Island's holiday. So what do we do here? What do we do? Keywords, right? Look at them, encircle them, say them softly to yourself. Company. Where? Meet the tour manager before traveling to the Isle of Man. How many lunches included in the price? Customers, have to pay extra. So you have some time to read it. I'll give you maybe 20 seconds to do so. And then let's listen to the recording. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 19, 20. Shall we?
Part 2. You will hear a woman giving a presentation about a holiday on an island in Britain that her company organizes. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14.
Look at them again. Write down your answers on a separate paper. Or on your phone. Let's see how well you do.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Good morning. My name's Erica Matthews, and I'm the owner of Matthews Island Holidays, a company set up by my parents. Thank you for coming to this presentation, in which I hope to interest you in what we have to offer. We're a small family-run company, and we believe in the importance of the personal touch. So we don't aim to compete with other companies on the number of customers. What we do is build on our many years' experience, more than almost any other rail holiday company, to ensure we provide perfect holidays in a small number of destinations, which we've got to know extremely well. I'll start with our 6-day Isle of Man holiday. This is a fascinating island in the Irish Sea, with Wales to the south, England to the east, Scotland to the north, and Northern Ireland to the west. Our holiday starts in Heysham, where your tour manager will meet you. Then you'll travel by ferry to the Isle of Man. Some people prefer to fly from Luton instead, and another popular option is to go by train to Liverpool and take a ferry from there. You have 5 nights in the hotel, and the price covers 5 breakfasts and dinners, and lunch on the 3 days when there are organised trips. Day 4 is free, and most people have lunch in a cafe or restaurant in Douglas. The price of the holiday includes the ferry to the Isle of Man, all travel on the island, the hotel, and the meals I've mentioned. Incidentally, we try to make booking our holidays as simple and fair as possible. So, unlike with many companies, the price is the same whether you book 6 months in advance or at the last minute, and there's no supplement for single rooms in hotels. If you make a booking, then need to change the start date, for example, because of illness, you're welcome to change to an alternative date or a different tour for a small administrative fee.
Before you
How was it? Are you confident with your answers? Crazy? Sometimes, surprise, surprise. Diba? Especially if you're doing this for the first time. Hala, ang bilis pala. Ang daming sinasabi, ang daming kuda ni ate. If you focus though on the keywords, these are supposed to serve as anchors so that kahit anong daldal ni ate girl, as long as hindi pa niya pinag-uusapan yung mga keywords na yan, ibig sabihin nun, filler lang yung mga kuda niya, yung kanyang mga sinasabi. Are you confident with your answers? Sige nga. Answer reveal. What's your answer for 11? Sige, what are your answers for everything? Since pinangunahan na ni Ninza Nobleza. Si Ninza, ABAC. How about the rest of you? Si Judy, BBAB. Okay. Lynette Rivera, BAAB. B. Huh? Well, looking at your classmates' answers, it's clear that we have different answers, that you guys have different answers. What did you find difficult with ano? What did you find difficult with answering multiple choice here? Anong nagpahirap sa kanila? Difficulty review. What did you find difficult here? What did you find difficult here? The way that she speaks, yeah. It's the accent. The accent is strange. You don't know anyone who talks like that. There's no one in your circle of friends who speaks the way that she speaks. Yeah, the accent is strange. I agree with you. I agree with you. And that's why, if you feel that the accent is one of the things that's holding you back from performing your best, what's our response to that? Exposure. Just listen to it again and again. Listen to shows that have her accent, etc. But I think what would be helpful will be for us. She difficult to understand and she speaks fast. Ang dami niyang kuda. She says so many things that has nothing to do with her answer. Fortunately, though, if we focus on the keywords, we know when to pay stricter attention so that we can answer these questions correctly. Let's listen to her again. One more time.
First, you have some time.
Let's see where what she says matches what we hear here. Abangan.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Good morning. My name's Erica Matthews, and I'm the owner of Matthews Island Holidays, a company set up by my parents. Thank you for coming to this presentation, in which I hope to interest you in what we have to offer. We're a small family-run company, and we believe in the importance of the personal touch. So we don't aim to compete with other companies on the number of customers. What we do is build on our many years' experience, more than almost any other rail holiday company, to ensure we provide perfect holidays in a small number of destinations, which we've got to know extremely well. I'll start.
We don't aim to compete on the number of customers. So therefore, which choice can we eliminate? Focus. Ang sabi niya, we don't aim to compete on the number of customers. Therefore, which choice can we eliminate? C, correct. So, pwede kang mag-X dyan. Ang sabi niya, we build on our many years of experience. The answer is A. When you say you build on many years of experience, more than any other company, I'm sorry, that's what she said, more than any other company. Many years of experience is more or less the same as longer than most of our competitors, etc. Small number of destinations means that the answer is no, B. Arranges holidays to more destinations than its competitors. That's not true. That's not true. So the answer is definitely A. Sinong naka-A? Sinong naka-A? A? A. Okay, good. Let's continue. Where can customers meet the tour manager before traveling to the island?
With our 6-day Isle of Man holiday.
Isle of
This
Man.
is a fascinating island in the Irish Sea, with Wales to the south, England to the east, Scotland to the north, and Northern Ireland to the west. Our holiday starts in Heysham, where your tour manager will meet you. Then you'll travel by ferry to the Isle of Man. Some people prefer to fly from Luton instead, and another popular option is to go by train to Liverpool and take a ferry from there.
Binanggit ba yung lahat ng yan? Si Liverpool, si Heysham, si Luton. Were all of three locations mentioned? Yes or no? Yes, they were. Of course they were. However, what were our anchors? Si Isle of Man, tsaka si Meet the Tour Manager. Kailan binanggit si Tour Manager? Starts in Heysham, where your tour manager will meet you. Where your tour manager will meet you is the same as meet the tour manager. Then travel to the Isle of Man is the same as before traveling to the Isle of Man. So what's the answer here? The answer is B. Tapos may kuda siya afterwards regarding yung ibang tao, ganito, nagpa-fly sa Luton, yung iba nagta-train, pero wala na si tour manager doon. So we know that the answer is not those things, but rather the answer is Heysham. Let's continue. Ano yung keyword natin sa 13? I think that looking at your answers, quite a lot of you were confused there. What are our keywords in 13? Lunches. How many lunches were included in the price? We're not talking about dinner. We're not talking about breakfast, but rather we're talking about lunches. Bilangin natin kung ilan yung kasama sa price.
Have 5 nights in the hotel, and the price covers 5 breakfasts and dinners, and lunch on the 3 days when there are organized trips. Day 4 is free, and most people have lunch in a cafe or restaurant in Douglas.
That's very straightforward. Lunch includes, the price includes breakfast and dinner, and lunch on the 3 days when there are organized trips. So very obviously, what's the answer here? Very obviously, what's the answer here? The answer here is A. Kasi yun yung 3. One last. Customers have to pay extra for. Ano yung pay extra? What was the word that was used?
Price of the holiday includes the ferry to the Isle of Man, all travel on the island, the hotel, and the meals I've mentioned. Incidentally, we try to make booking our holidays as simple and fair as possible. So, unlike with many companies, the price is the same whether you book 6 months in advance or at the last minute, and there's no supplement for single rooms in hotels. If you make a booking, then need to change the start date, for example, because of illness, you're welcome to change to an alternative date or a different tour for a small administrative fee.
The price is the same whether you book at the last minute, whether you book 6 months in advance or at the last minute. Based on that, what is not the answer? The price is the same whether mag-book ka 6 months in advance or at the last minute. So, which choice is wrong? Which choice is not the answer? Hi. The price is the same whether you book 6 months in advance or at the last minute. Based on this, what is not the answer? What choice can we cancel? Which choice can we get rid of? Okay. When you say booking at the last minute, what does that correspond to? Kung last minute ka nag-book, you get to cancel B. Yeah, because that is the equivalent of short notice. Booking at the short notice is the same as at the last minute. Booking is the same as book. However, you heard that, pero nakasulat ay pay extra. What do they pay extra for? Yung sabi ni Ate Girl, the price is the same, which means that you don't pay extra for it. So the answer is not B. Tapos there are no supplemental rooms, no extra rooms, so there's no such thing as a large room. The answer is C. ano yung keyword ng transferring to another date? Transferring to another date, same as change the start date. Sino ka partner ni Pay Extra? Correct, John Angelo. The small administrative fee. Pay Extra. What's another way? What was part of your schema when you think of pay? Expenses, costs, fees, maybe extra. It's like, if everything else is free, then what other prices mentioned must be extra. Something like that. Charge, exactly. What do you notice? You notice that the promise has been fulfilled. All of the keywords that you heard, all of the keywords that are part of the question, you heard in the audio. All of the keywords of the answer, may corresponding kapartner sa audio din. Of course, ang nagpagulo dyan is that some of the wrong answers, also you heard the keywords. But in order to differentiate between them, you pay attention to your anchors. Alin ba dyan yung bigit? Customers have to pay extra for, so you wait until something is mentioned na hindi kasama sa order price. How many lunches included in the price? Abangan mo yung lunches. You don't pay attention to breakfast. You don't pay attention to dinner. You pay attention to the lunches, right? Because if you don't do this, if you don't hone in, if you don't anchor your listening on the keywords, maguguluhan at maguguluhan ka because of the accent and because of the speed. As evidenced by some of you not getting 4 points here. What's your score out of 4? What's your score out of 4? What's your score out of 4? So the correct answers are A, B, A, C. A, B, A, C. Ninzi Nobleza got a perfect score. So did Jinky and John Angelo. And K. Yeah. The rest of you, a few errors. And as we mentioned earlier, a few errors are fine, especially when you are starting. Hopefully this time has helped clarify this small part of your IELTS listening tests. The other members of Niner would be helping you out with other parts, maybe with fill in the blanks and identification and matching stuff. So with accents as well, general listening strategies, how to be a better listener. Hopefully, though, tonight has been helpful. The hardest thing to do all the time is to start. At least tonight, nasimulan mo, if you've just started, and hopefully you could build on what you've learned tonight to make sure that you're able to give your best when it comes to your actual test. My name is Philip. It was good working with you tonight. Back to you, sir. Thank you as always, IFNG, for having us.
I think that's everyone. Thank you so much, Sir Pheelyp. And see you again next week. Okay, take care and goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you, Sir Pheelyp and Niner.
Take care.